Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.
And nerding out indeed I am. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of Depeche Mode, the podcast, and I'm your host, Jon Justice. I am so excited to share with you what I've been anticipating in terms of this announcement now for quite a long time, and some other information that I have not been able to share with you that I can now do so in light of the announcement this morning as Depeche Mode introduces Depeche Mode M, a striking new cinematic experience. Again, if you want to email at any point throughout the show, TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. And if you're enjoying this up on YouTube, I hope you'll leave a comment there, and we'll share those on the next upcoming episodes. And we have some listener feedback to share this week as well. So I'm not going to bury the details. I'll let you know what was announced this morning, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what else I happen to know about this particular documentary and what may be coming also later on this year. So, as it was reported, multiple outlets now, X-Noise, this was on the NME, also Rolling Stone is reporting this, so this is completely 100% legitimate news. Depeche Mode has announced an expressive and dynamic cinematic film titled Depeche Mode M, featuring in-between and archival footage from the band's Mexico City shows on the 2023 and 2024 Memento Mori tour. As you can hear my dog barking in the background, she's also very excited. The feature-length film, conceptualized and directed by award-winning filmmaker Fernando Frias, takes the audience on a profound musical journey using nearly 200,000 Mexican fans, their fervent connection with the band as a window into the band's timeless global influence and a powerful tribute to the unbreakable connection between music, tradition, and the human spirit. Through Frias and his creative lens, the cinematic experience weaves footage from the 3 sold-out shows at Mexico City's Foro Sol Stadium to explore the parallels between the themes on Depeche Mode's latest album, Memento Mori, and the deep connection to death and mortality in Mexican culture. Listen, the combination of what has been put together by this director, I am genuinely excited for. A different dynamic and perhaps a deeper look into the cultural phenomenon and, as was mentioned here, that connection to humanity, especially through the unique Mexican culture. Frias is best known for his award-winning film I'm No Longer Here, which won Mexico's prestigious Ariel Academy Awards with 10 wins, including Best Picture and Best Direction. The film also earned Frias a DGA nomination for Outstanding Directorial Achievement. Additionally, it was Mexico's submission to the Oscars in 2021 and was shortlisted for Best International Film. His latest film, I Don't Expect Anyone to Believe Me, premiered as well to critical acclaim. Depeche Mode M will premiere in theaters later this year. Follows the band during its Mexico City stop during the Memento Mori tour, which saw them play to more than 3 million fans on 112 shows around the world, and was hailed by Rolling Stone as a stunning celebration of life and music. The tour followed Depeche Mode's 15th studio album, released in 2023 to wide critical acclaim. An indelible inspiration to fans, critics, and artists alike, Depeche Mode continues to forge ahead, with Memento Mori album and tour representing the latest chapter of a peerless and ongoing legacy. Depeche Mode M is being produced by Columbia Records, Anonymous Content, and Red Rum. Sony Music Vision is the distributor. Now, more details about the Depeche Mode film are set to be shared at a later date, including information about when it should arrive in theaters. I don't think I could be any more excited for an upcoming project apart from those 4 unreleased tracks, of which I am very much of the opinion will be attached to all of this in some way, shape, or form in the future. But the combination here of this acclaimed Mexican film director and what it looks as if he's trying to accomplish with this documentary, it has me really excited, especially because, and I love Anton Corbijn, do not misunderstand, but we've had a lot from Anton Corbijn. And I like to see, much like D.A. Pennebaker, where that was more of sort of a straightforward documentary, I'm really interested and excited to see the perspective of an individual who is of, again, an incredibly creative mind and is well known for being an acclaimed filmmaker and what potentially this could represent, including the fact that they're going to be releasing it in theaters, which I would indicate as simply a level of confidence that the record label has, and most likely Martin and Dave have, in this particular project. So, now that this information has finally been revealed, I can tell you a bit of what I know about why this took so long to come out. I went on over to the Depeche-Mode webpage, and I went on the home forum just to see what the reaction is from many of the individuals who post on there frequently and have for many, many years now. And I saw several comments, and it was really kind of discouraging. I saw several comments saying, well, it's too late now, the interest is gone. And I never understand the immediate naysayers. I just, that's never been me. I'm more of an optimist, but individuals that immediately go and sort of default to negativity, I just don't get. There's just as equal of an argument that the time since the end of the tour, which was just a little over a year ago now, and the album being out now a couple of years, has given enough distance without any official announcements or any other recent releases to bring about a hype for this type of release. So I just simply can't relate to that type of mentality. As to why it was delayed, from what I have heard, there were some licensing issues relating to having this particular release make it into the public. And those licensing issues only got resolved right at the end of 2024. So this documentary may have been close to completion, and there was potentially a desire to have this released earlier. But again, because there was something going on with the copyright and licensing last year, it wasn't able to get released. And again, that was only resolved at the end of last year. Also, I've heard that a potential live album may be being considered as well. Now, I don't know when it comes to this documentary if it'll end up including the entire Memento Mori show. I would imagine that we won't get an official show being released in the theaters, right? This will be the actual documentary Depeche Mode M, which will more than likely be like Spirits in the Forest was, the last Anton Corbijn film, where you had the concert, but it wasn't the concert in its entirety, and it was interspersed with footage from the fans. I can't imagine that this is going to be closely resembling that, apart from you'll get the cultural aspect of the Mexican culture, the Depeche Mode fans, and then you'll have songs that will be cut into the film. And, sometimes when that happens, you get shorter versions. My hope and somewhat expectation is that once this makes it to a physical release, it'll be an extensive release. If you're going to release anything in terms of a physical format, it's more advantageous, or I should say it's advantageous, so I'm not redundant. It's advantageous that you put as many extras on this as possible to justify the physical release, in which case we could be facing something similar as the 101 box set that included also the film, but also had the extra footage, but not in its entirety beginning to end the concert. Or we could get in its entirety the entire concert separate from the actual documentary. But I have been told that there is being considered a live album. And if that is the case, then perhaps we'll get a live album release along with the actual concert attached to the documentary upon its release. My expectation is also that those 4 unreleased Memento Mori tracks, and this goes back to the individuals posting on the home forum saying that, it's been too long. Well, if that's the case, and I'm and I'm wrong, and those detractors are right, and it's been a while, and they need to generate some hype, then what better way to go and generate that hype than by releasing those 4 unreleased tracks in conjunction with the release of the documentary? And remember, I was told, and I've heard this from, again, multiple sources, that those 4 tracks were supposed to be released if the band had decided to extend the tour as a means to promote another leg of the Memento Mori tour, had Dave and Martin decided to press on, and in the end they decided to stop the tour. 112 shows. You can understand that Martin and Dave were pretty exhausted by that point in time, but now those 4 tracks could serve as a good promotion for the release of the documentary. I'm just praying that it's a wide release and the documentary isn't just released in theaters on a limited basis in various parts of the country. I'm excited because I feel like because this is going to get an actual release in theaters, that, again, just to repeat myself, there is a lot of confidence behind the quality of this particular documentary. So, listen, either way, I'm excited the news is finally out there. I'm glad that I can share with you what little that I've known. And, again, didn't want to give up any of my sources or go and violate what they had shared with me. I didn't want to be a violator. That was really bad, wasn't it? I have to apologize. That was Depeche Mode dad jokes. But what do you think? TalkShowNerd at gmail.com. Listen, I'll throw it out there. Do you think this is, coming out too late? Do you think the interest in the band from Depeche Mode normies that may have been excited if this had been released closer to the end of the tour and perhaps they missed out on some hype surrounding this release? Not, of course, from individuals that listen to a podcast like this, but more casual Depeche Mode fans that wouldn't be listening to this podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Again, talkshownerd at gmail.com, and leave a comment up on YouTube. So, man, I was just wrapping up my weekly radio show when I happened to hop on X and I saw the announcement, and I was floored. I knew it was coming. It's just you never know until it's actually released, and then you get excited, and it's just going to be awesome to see what Fernando Frias was able to go and put together. And if you happen to have watched the other documentaries mentioned, I really would be interested to hear your take on the quality of work that he has produced with his other projects. So by all means, please email me. All right, with that being said, let's get to some of your listener feedback this week. And first, we hear from Glenn, 1965. Love your Thursday catch-ups about our beloved Depeche Mode. Hope so much for a retrospective tour, even without a new album release. There are so many tracks I would love to hear live. You could easily fill a set list with such as People Are Good, Photographic, Blue Dress, Dead of Night. So many tracks either never or rarely played live. Drop all the classics, apart from perhaps Policy of Truth, Personal Jesus, and Enjoy the Silence, and slot in beloved but little heard gems. What would your dream respective playlist be? So, I'm going to hang on to that for next week's show. And I'm going to make that the focus of next week's show. What would your dream retrospective playlist be for another tour? And please email me your dream retrospective playlist. We'll keep it to 20 tracks. We'll go with that, 20 tracks. What would your dream retrospective playlist be? And try to put them in order. If you have the time, Matt, I'm talking to you. I know you're already going to do this, but put it in terms of this is the track list and this is the order that I would want it played live. And we'll save that for next week's show, and hopefully I'll have some sampling from you of what your dream retrospective playlist would be. So, Glenn, thank you so much for the suggestion. Absolutely fantastic. Russman, 1966, writes, I'd be very surprised if they didn't release the tracks as part of a box set due to the album's success, in which they may include the Dolby Atmos mix of Memento Mori, which would completely tie in with the atmosphere of the album. Maybe a 5.1 mix also. We can only hope. Yeah, listen, I found it interesting that the announcement of the of the documentary, the film didn't include further details, which, again, I suspect is because this is a bit of a slow rollout leading to a potential live album with the physical release of the documentary and those 4 unreleased tracks. Lars writes, Christian Eigner certainly doesn't talk about the band's future here, does he? At least it doesn't sound as if the band's over. No, I mean, going back to last week's episode when he was asked, again, it was pure speculation on my part. I just thought that it was interesting in that while he said, time will tell, it wasn't a complete dismissal. And I would expect that Christian has a bit of contact, at least with Dave, because of just how much they've worked in the past before, while I wouldn't think that Christian has direct knowledge of, like, Martin writing, per se, unless he happened to have a conversation with Dave. At the same time, you wonder, too, with this documentary release, if it may perhaps be timed with the placement of the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I mean, that timing would certainly be apropos if the film were being released in theaters at the same time that Dave and Martin would both end up in Los Angeles to receive their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So that's certainly a possibility as well. Thank you for the email, Lars. The Nightland writes this. I think world tours are over. Hopefully we might get a last album. I don't know, man. Never say never. I was shocked at the amount of energy that Dave had on this last tour. I really didn't expect that. And he certainly has been taking care of himself. And, never say never. I certainly don't think it's the end of the band by any stretch. I will say that it's a little bit, while I'm excited for the release of this documentary, there's a part of me that goes, oh, man, I hope all of this is not a swan song, but I certainly don't think that is the case. So, let's see if I can pronounce this correctly. Batista Soentos says this. If a Christian knows something about the future of the band, he won't tell any interviewer. No, of course not. In 2020, Peter Gordino told the University of Peru at a video conference that he was writing something with Eigner. Before We Drown, at the time, he did not give any detail. Yeah, I was reminded that I believe that Peter had mentioned that there was some writing that was actually being done while they were on tour, which I think led to a lot of the speculation that the band wouldn't be wrapping it up just yet. Lastly, Aaron Anderson writes this. Totally agree about Depeche Mode touring again. It's down to Dave. Yeah, as I said last week on the episode, I firmly believe that the future of Depeche Mode rests with Dave. I think Martin would be up to it, and especially with touring again, because Dave's going to have to go and carry the load of being the front man once again. So that wraps up the show for this week. Kind of a quick one, but fantastic news, and just so excited to get home as soon as I could to share the news with you and help me in my excitement by dropping me an email. I want to hear from you and what your thoughts are. What expectations do you have about the quality of this documentary and the way it's described? Has it piqued your interest and made you as excited as this Depeche Mode, the podcast host, is? TalkShowNerd@gmail.com, or leave that comment up on YouTube. I know I'm going to be listening to some Depeche Mode today. Are you like that, by the way? I'm not the only one. Like, anytime there's new Depeche Mode news, then I immediately just start diving into Depeche Mode music because I get that excited. All right, before I let you go, if you love Depeche Mode, and I know you do, or you wouldn't be listening to me talk about Depeche Mode, but if you also love science fiction, treat yourself, a friend, or a family member with science fiction. A science fiction space opera adventure series set in the future where air and space flight culture has replaced car culture, inspired in part by Depeche Mode, much like Fernando Frias is. Life in the so-called space age, the world we live in, and life in general, Depeche Mode plays a large part in the underlying themes of the story, as the main character himself is a massive Depeche Mode fan at a time in the future, 2172, when the music of the 80s through the 2000s is nostalgic and popular among the characters of the story. It also features references to Depeche Mode, both direct and indirect, while telling an exciting science fiction space opera saga. I think that's what has me excited about this documentary, too, is how it's described. The director wanted to explore the intersectionality between the Mexican culture and the themes of Depeche Mode, and that's something that I certainly tried to accomplish, especially in book 1 of my EMBARK science fiction space opera series, of which I'm talking about now. As Earth faces its end, to follow pilots Taft, Catha, and their crew on a journey of survival across the galaxy as they fight for humanity's future. Buy EMBARK today. 7 books in all in the series. If you like your science fiction to be epic, filled with a lot of adventure and romance, and unique action sequences, EMBARK is perfect for you. Written for adults, but great for ages 11 plus. Pick up EMBARK Book 1 today. The entire series is available in ebook, audiobook, hardcover, paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle Unlimited. Search for EMBARK, EMBARK, and Jon, Jon Justice. Have yourself a fantastic week. I look forward to hearing from you. I hope wherever you are, you're happy, you're healthy, and you're safe. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.